All right, if you're doing any business in Papua New Guinea, I need you to grab your calendar and circle January 1st, 2026. Why? Because a brand new Income Tax Act is rolling out, and it's going to completely flip the script on a super important question. When do you actually owe them tax? So look, if you have any interests in PNG, I'm talking construction, consulting, you name it, you're going to want to listen up. We're about to break down exactly what's changing. And, the really crucial part is how these new rules could mean your company has a taxable presence there way, way sooner than you might think. Okay, so let's start with the basics. How does any country decide when a foreign company has to start forking over local taxes? Well, it all boils down to this one core international idea. And that idea is something called a permanent establishment, or you'll hear it called PE for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a tripwire. Once your business activities in a country get big enough to hit that wire, boom, you've triggered it, you've established a PE, and that means you're on the hook for local corporate tax. All right, so what's the most classic, most straightforward way to create this taxable footprint? It's pretty simple, really. It's all about having a physical, fixed location for your business. And when I say broad, I mean really broad. PNG's new law is right in line with international standards here. It confirms that basically everything, from a little management office all the way to a massive mine or quarry, counts as a fixed place PE. So, the bottom line is pretty clear. If you have a physical base of operations, you have a taxable presence. End of story. But hold on, because having a fixed office isn't the only way to create that taxable footprint. And this is where PNG's new law really starts to bite. Because it's not just about where you are anymore. It's about how long you're there. Okay, here it is. This is the new magic number. The one number you absolutely positively have to burn into your memory if you're in PNG. 90 days. That's it. That is the new trigger for a whole bunch of activities that are going to create a taxable presence. Now, to really get why this is such a huge deal, we need to talk for a sec about something called double tax agreements, or DTAs. Basically, these are treaties between countries to stop you from getting taxed on the same income twice. Now, under a lot of PNG's older treaties, the time limit was often 183 days. We're talking half a year. This new domestic law just takes a hatchet to that. The new strict 90-day rule literally cuts that grace period by more than half. That's a massive change. And you can see exactly who PNG has in its sights with this. Is your company running a construction project, providing consulting services? Maybe you're using some heavy-duty equipment like a drilling rig. If you do any of that for more than 90 days in a 12-month period, boom. Just like that, you've got yourself a permanent establishment. Okay, but it's not like every single thing you do will trigger this rule. The law is smart about it. It carves out some specific exceptions for activities that are really just preparatory or support work. Yeah, this is what people in the business call the negative list. And the logic is all about the purpose of what you're doing. So if your activities are just supportive, preparatory stuff like using a warehouse just for storage or having an office only to gather information, you probably won't create a PE. But, and this is a huge but, that keyword is only. The second you combine those things with your main business functions, that exemption, poof, it's gone. So let's pull all this together for a second. You can see a really clear line in the sand, right? If you've got a fixed place like an office, or you're in the natural resources game, it's immediate. You've got a PE from day one, no time limit. But for everyone else, construction, services, heavy equipment, that 90-day clock is officially ticking. All right, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, this might be the most powerful part of PNG's new law. It's a rule that's specifically designed to make sure nothing slips through the cracks between their own local law and those international agreements we talked about. This thing is called the deeming rule, and it is the ultimate catch-all. What it says is simple. Even if you somehow manage to dance around PNG's 90-day domestic rule, it doesn't matter. Not one bit. If the tax treaty between your country and PNG says you have a PE, guess what? You have a PE. The treaty always wins. What this does is slam the door shut on any potential loopholes. You can't try to play the domestic law against the treaty, or vice versa. The new rule is crystal clear. If either one says you have a PE, then you have a PE. It just creates total clarity and gets rid of any of that gray area wiggle room. The tax treaty is now the absolute baseline, full stop. So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, this overhaul sends a really clear message. Papua New Guinea is modernizing its tax system, it's getting in line with global standards, and it's making it very, very clear that it's going to enforce its right to tax the economic activity happening inside its borders. And that really leaves just one critical question for any business operating there. Are you ready for this new era?